So a moment of silence for my beautiful braids. I'm absolutely in love with them. Got them done over the break. We just came back from midwinter recess and I call them spicy straight backs. Literally, they're spicy straight backs. My name is Melissa and I am a kindergarten teacher here in the Brooklyn Charter Schools, and I decided to pick up my camera because I wanted to give some advice to my teachers who are coming into the classroom for the first time. Y'all about to finish grad school, y'all having all your experiences, all of your observations with your teachers, and you're almost there, but you do not have experience in the classroom. And I am a firm believer that experience is the best teacher. And had I seen a video like this during my first year, I would have been more prepared and I would have had a better eye as to what I should look for, what I should and should not do. So this video is just gonna be advice for teachers who are coming into the classroom and different tips and tricks that will get you through, because honestly, teaching is hard. It's not for the faint of heart, and I've learned a couple of things throughout the way, so I just want to share some things with you guys. So with that being said, if I'm looking down, I have notes that I took that will be very helpful, but here we go, let's get into it. The first piece of advice that I would give to a teacher coming into the classroom is to put your ego away. Zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. Because to have a big ego really blocks you from learning and growing as a teacher. Yes, you're an educator, but when you get observed for your lessons or when you're getting feedback on things that you should incorporate in your lessons, you have to have an open mind and an open heart to really take that feedback and apply it so that you can grow as an educator. When I first got observed through my lessons, I had been in the classroom by myself for maybe about 4 months. And then my admin came in and she was like, oh my gosh, you're rocking it, you're killing it. You did A, B, and C correct, but what about X, Y, and Z? And immediately I got defensive. I'm like, you haven't been in here, you don't know these kids, I've been working so hard. But instead of having that mentality, that defensive mentality, I took what she said, I applied it to my lessons, and I was able to see a difference in the way I taught, my intention in the lesson, and moving forward, I'm a better teacher now because then I can transfer those skills into my co-teacher, and I'm like, hey, so this is what she's gonna be looking for, so keep an eye out for this. You're doing great, but this can be added into your lesson. And it just makes you a better, well-rounded teacher. So when you have a small ego or you put your ego away, it makes room for you to grow. So that would be my first tip, to put your ego away. Really think about what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And I wanna tell you guys a story. Last year, during the second quarter, we had grades and the bulletin board outside due at the same time. And with the bulletin board, it's way more fun than putting in grades, honestly. You get to put up recent work that you and the kids are doing, you get to put up pretty decorations, nice borders. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I wanna do the fun stuff. So I put my time and energy into doing the bulletin board outside, opposed to sitting down, taking an hour to do grades, and then doing the bulletin board. Needless to say, I had to take so much work home and put the grades in at home because I decided that the board was more important. So what I'm telling you is that at being a teacher, there are so many deadlines that we have to meet. Really decipher what deserves your attention. Does charting this story deserve more attention than reading through this lesson? Does reading through this lesson have more weight than grading the math assignment that they did yesterday? Really figure out what's more important and put your energy into that, because as a teacher, every 5 seconds there's something to do. There's grades, there's lesson plans, there's something to chart, there's something to print, there's something to copy, there's a meeting, there's a PD. So really try not to spread yourself too thin and figure out, okay, this is what I can do now and this can wait. Because honestly, that board outside, it could have waited. She was cute, but she could have waited. Temperature check with your class. Do not be one of those teachers that just plows through a lesson just because they want to get through the scope. Because lesson 7, 8, 9, and 10 has to be done this week, and if it's not done this week, you'll be behind. Do not be one of those teachers. Check with your class to make sure that they are understanding what you are teaching, because there's nothing worse than checking for understanding, like, hey, can you repeat what I just said? Or hey, what's going on? And your student looking at you like, I don't know. Check with your class. I have been in situations where my class has been 2 lessons behind because I have to do reteaches. Reteaches are okay. Not every class is the same and not every student is the same, which brings me to my next advice. Do not compare your class to another class or a previous class you had in another school. There are so many differences between each child and each class. I find myself doing this Now, I'm like, hey, my class this year, I gotta give them a lot of reminders. Last year, they didn't have as many reminders, but also last year we had math, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I find myself comparing different kids, different classes, and it's not helpful, honestly. And it's counterproductive to moving the class that you have now forward. So do not compare your class, but also check in with your class. Hey, Johnny, do you understand what you're doing in the math? Patricia, what is the pattern again? Check for understanding throughout the day. We call it at-bats, right? Make sure you have as many at-bats as possible just so they can have a lot of repetition with the material. And if they don't understand it, reteach it. It's okay if you're behind. It's okay, trust me. Check in with yourself and your coworkers. I harass my coworkers almost every day. What did you use? What sources did you find? What materials did you use? How did this lesson work for you? That also goes with putting your ego away. Checking with other people, other teachers, because they might be having the same struggles as you. You're not going through this alone. I'm constantly going next door like, hey, were you able to get this type of resource, or were you able to find this on the internet? Can you print that for me? Can you go get that for me? Asking for help. That's putting your ego away. I need help. Working as a teacher, I've never asked for help more than I have now. I'm constantly like, can you help me? Help me. So check in with yourself and check in with your teacher, your co-teachers. My last piece of advice would be, you're doing great, sweetie. The kids are learning. I was so hard on myself because it was my first year teaching. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. These kids don't know what I'm talking about, but they do. When you check in with them and you ask if they understand and you move on to the next lesson, it builds. Something in the brain clicks and they learn. Don't be so hard on yourself. You got this. You're doing great. As long as you show up and you are being consistent with these kids, they're going to learn regardless. You know, sometimes you do mess up. You're human. Like, sometimes the kids don't get it. They're human. But we're all experiencing this together. We're all rising together, and you're doing great. I think that's gonna be the end of this advice video. Let me know if this was helpful or not. And let me know what else you wanna see. What other kind of teacher content? Teaching in New York, teaching kindergarten, teaching in Brooklyn. What other type of teacher content would you guys like to see? Because I'm so excited. I got this new camera. She looks so good. It's stressing me out a little bit, but yeah. So that's the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.